Donn Felker, and welcome to the screencast. In this screencast, we're going to cover WCF's 3.5 methods in which we can implement a RESTful-based service. Now, the first question may be, what is REST, or what does it stand for? A REST service, or REST itself, stands for Representational State Transfer. I'm not going to get into the exact definition of what REST is and what it stands for, and all the way down to the nitty-gritty details. There's lots of articles on the webs if you want to actually look up what REST is, or even read this Wikipedia article. There's been a lot of arguments lately on Twitter, as well as the blogiverse of kind of what represents a REST-based service. WCF 3.5 provides us with some ways to implement a REST-based service, and that's what we're going to cover today. I think this is best illustrated, if you're not familiar with what a REST-based service is to see it in action. So on a normal web service, we'd request something and we would get back some type of message from WCF, and it would be through some proxy or web service reference, etc., and we get back a complex type, and serialization and deserialization happens behind the scenes. In this instance, in a REST-based service, we request something through a URL, and this is just utilizing the HTTP GET verb. Now, what we have here is a get gas price for zip code 55401, and what we're basically saying in the URL is, I want to get the gas price for the zip code of 55401. So the web service we have implemented here, or the REST-based service we have implemented here, is getting us the lowest gas price inside of zip code 55401. If I hit enter, I'm returned to some plain old XML, which is just a small little object that's been serialized to XML, and that's gas price data holiday, and the price is $1.99. This is exactly what's returned back to the caller. Now the caller can parse this and do whatever they need to do with it. So anyone from Java, Ruby, C, whatever, can connect to the service and download this data. Now the great thing about this is I can, if I want to change the parameter, which is the last value, I can just change this to 2. Now I have a different value. Costco, $1.79. I can change this to 3. Sam's Club, $2.79. What I can also do is maybe I have another method that's implemented in this REST service, and I say it's for city, and I'll say what the, give me the cheapest gas price for the city of Minneapolis. Comes back and says, well, actually in Minneapolis we have Super America, it's $1.87. And I say, all right, well, what about another city? Maybe it's Edina, a city that's close to Minneapolis. Well, it's a Costco, it's $1.79. And we can cycle through the different types of cities that we have inside of our service. So let's go ahead and implement this in WCF. As normal, we have a service contract for a WCF service, and I'm not going to type it all out for you here, so I have it copied. As usual, we have an operation contract attribute, which defines the operation that's going to happen on the web service, and we also have a web get attribute. This is new to WCF 3.5. This allows us to actually perform the web get, which is exactly what's happening on the browser here when we hit enter. The browser is performing a get operation on this URL. So we're saying the different attribute properties here, which is the response format, is how do we want this response returned to us? We want it returned to us in XML. The other options here are also JSON, how to return a JSON object, so you can perhaps utilize this within your Ajax application. The body style is bare. You can have different options such as bare, wrapped request. Essentially, bare is give me the most vanilla version of the XML I can get. Wrapped is going to provide some extra wrapped XML elements around what's returned, so you'll have a couple extra elements around here, etc. But we just want the most basic version in this instance. Then we have the Uri template. You can perform a bunch of different operations with Uri template, but essentially what it is it's taking the host base address, which is the 7002, localhost 7002, and then it's appending the rest of it, which is get gas price data for city, or for the zip code, which you'll see zip code 55401, and that's returned here. So now if we take get gas price for zip code 55401 and we look at this here, get gas price for zip code, now we have a little curly brace with zip code, and what this is doing is creating a mapping for this method's call, zip code, the parameter. We're just saying, take this right here, and anytime you see this, give me the last piece represents a zip code, and drop that zip code into here, and that's going to be my parameter. So let's get gas price data, which returns a complex type. Let's look at that real quick. It's just a simple data contract that implements a gas station, which is the gas station's name and the price of the gas. Real simple. We also have another one on here, which is the web get and response format. Now what it does is it does the same exact thing as the gas price data for zip code, but this one is just calls a different method called get gas price data for city, and you pass in the city name, and the URI template's a little bit different. So we're saying for a city, and the last value maps to a city. You could keep adding these on here as per your service would require. So now we need to implement the actual concrete implementation of this interface. We'll use ReSharper to quick stub us out here. And now I'm not going to type all this for you either. We'll copy this over. This is the bottom portion, which is right here for the city. And then if we go back, we need to get the top portion, which is for the zip code. So just examining this real quickly, all we're doing is taking in the zip code, doing a simple switch statement, and we're returning a new gas price data for whatever zip code we're looking for. Now in here, the same thing for the city. We're going to pass in a city name. We're going to match it on the city name. And we'll just do it to the lower version of it. And we'll return some new gas price data for there. Normally you wouldn't do it like this. You would return it from some type of data store. You'd connect to another web service. You'd just get it from somewhere else. You wouldn't hard code it like this. Again, this is simply for example. So we have everything implemented here. Now we have one more thing. We need to host the service. WCF 3.5 provides us with a new service host for REST-based services, and that's the web service host. What the web service host does is pretty much provides a lot of the plumbing and the goo for us for setting up behaviors and figuring out what the endpoint addresses are based upon your service. So now if we actually look at the config file for defining our service, this is all that's in it. Normally you would have 50 lines or whatever of service definition code. Again, this being a real simple service, there's nothing much in there. We just have a base address which we want to start from, and then we use a new binding, which is the web HTTP binding, which allows us to utilize the web get and the web invoke methods, which are used for RESTful based services. Again, we're not covering web invoke at this time. That'll be another screencast. So let's go back to the example web host. Again, we're just starting it up with the web service host with the type of gas price service, which we just implemented, and we're just leaving it open until someone presses the enter button. Again, I started this service earlier. I'm just going to kill it so we can build it and start again. Again, our example succeeded. Let's fire it up. Alright, now our service is running at port 7002. Let's go back to our web browser and hit enter. There, we returned gas station for that. Costco. And 55403 return Sam's Club. Now let's try it for the city. So it's in Minneapolis. Getting Super America. Let's try St. Paul. Again, this is you don't have to be. You can even change these to lowercase c's if you want, which is nice. So you don't have to be case sensitive at all. I could change this to zip code. And it goes 55401. Get the data back. So let's actually debug into this so you can actually see it up and running. So we'll get the gas price data for the city and the zip code, and let's just do one step through each of them. So 55401. Let's break into it. As you see, it was passed in through 55401. Goes in here. It's returned. Serializes the gas price data as XML. Gets returned to the end user here. Let's debug into a city. So you can see the city comes in as Minneapolis, no problem. We'll go back here, see Minneapolis with capital M. It came through just fine. We're lowercasing it here, so we're not going to have a problem. So we'll return new gas price data, F5, and we'll return XML. So again, we've covered WCF and how to implement a simple REST-based web service with just using the get HTTP verb. In a later webcast, we will cover a WCF service utilizing the invoke method. I hope this has helped. Thank you.